Okay, so now that we know what a proportional relationship is, we are going to spend today finding what we call the constant of proportionality. And there can only be a constant of proportionality if you answered yes to the question, is it proportional? Okay? Kind of like if you remember, we said, nope, this isn't a proportional relationship because in order to be a proportional relationship, it's got to be a straight line through the origin. And it's got to be in the format an equation y equals mx. Can't have a number plus or minus after it. And in the table, it's got to contain the 0.00 and have that common factor. So we are looking for straight lines through the origin written in the form y equals mx and a table of values that contains 0, and when you divide all the y values by all the x values, you get the same factor. So that is what constitutes a proportional relationship. So if that is the case, then we're going to talk about how to find the slope from that. We're going to use the word slope. You're going to hear me refer to it both ways. I need you to know they mean the same thing. So let's start with the easiest one. The easiest way to identify the constant of proportionality is from an equation. And it's so simple because remember how I always said it's in the formula y equals, I even think I used black and, where's my black marker? I used black and, okay, well, we're not going to worry about that. We're going to use blue for right now because my black marker's on my A. It's written in the form y equals mx. Well, if I were to say to you, I have an equation, y equals 3x. Then guess what? Your constant of proportionality is 3. We're going to call it m. We're going to say m is 3. Number one, it's the only number that you see. And number two, you know enough from setting up equations that we got that 3 from saying, well, 1 comma 3, whether x was the number of lawns you mowed or the number of books you bought or whatever, and y was your money, when 1 is paired with 3, you know that that is your rate of change or your slope or your constant of proportionality. It's so many things. So finding the slope from an equation is quite possibly one of the easiest things you'll ever do. It's that number right there, okay? So even if I were to write y equals negative 2x, your slope is the number in front of the x, you guys, it's m, and I don't really know an easier way to say that. So finding the constant of proportionality or your slope from an equation, I would say would be like a level 1 in a video game. Pretty simple, anybody can do that, right? Okay, so let's move on to what probably is, I don't know if we go with this video game analogy. Let's say next would be a level 2. I would say trying to find the constant of proportionality or your slope from words would be a little bit harder than the equation because you have to do a little bit of calculation. So that would be like when I said that JJ mows lawns and he earned $50 from mowing 5 lawns. And so you had to kind of know what you did with this number. And remember we said the hardest part was figuring out what goes where. And guys, you were always trying to find out the cost per something. So the cost per lawn means you're going to take that money and divide it by the number of things that you bought or mowed or whatever. And that's what's going to give you your constant of proportionality. And so with words, you kind of have to just take that, know which ones, and you know what? It might have in the problem reversed this, and I might have said, JJ mowed 5 lawns. He made $50. And a lot of kids get really confused because they think the order that it says in the problem is the number that they punch in the calculator first. And that's not the case at all, because if that were the case and they did 5 divided by 50, they would not get the right constant of proportionality. They would have done 5 divided by 50, and they would have got 10 cents. He does not get 10 cents per lawn, but that's what 5 divided by 50 is. So you have to know that it's cost per lawn, okay? And so, like, let's take a look at some of these examples. If I'm asking you to look at Jalen is working and worked 3 hours. and earned 36. And if you're lucky, they didn't give you more than one clue here. When he worked 3 hours, he earned 36. And when he worked 5, he earned 60. So if I were to go and find my cost per hour, then you could take 36 and divide it by 3 and say, okay, well, he earned $12 that day. Well, let's also see, because remember, in order for it to be proportional, the y divided by the x has to be the same number. So if $60 for 5 hours of work also gives me 12, yep, there we go. So my constant of proportionality for words would be, okay, figure out books per month. This one would be books per month because time is almost always your x, right? So you would say 4 divided by 2 means 2 books a month. 10 divided by 5 also fits 2 books per month. So in order to find the constant of proportionality or your slope from words, you have to know to divide the y by the x, okay? And so equation in words, as we're moving on, maybe a level 3 type of problem could be trying to find the constant of proportionality or your slope from a table. I need you to be able to take a look at a table and find the constant of proportionality, and this is one that gets a little tricky. Okay, and I'm not going to like give you tables that aren't proportional because number one, it has to be a proportional relationship for you to even be able to find it, right? So if you remember, I gave you a table that had 0, 0, 312, 624, and then 9, and then I'm going to change this one to 36. It was 32 in our last book. So I know it's proportional. Okay, just a quick little review, because if I divided all of my y's by my x's, I would get the same number. That's 4. 36 divided by 9 is 4. Well, guess what? You just found the constant of proportionality. So to find, I think I used this little orange thing. I said, hey, to get from this number, except for your non-zero numbers, to get from this number to this number, didn't I just divide by 4? So basically that's your constant of proportionality. The number that pops up. Remember how I said to use it to check to see if it was proportional? I said to see if it's proportional, divide all these numbers by the x's, divide the 36 by the 9. And then this number we just looked at to see if it was proportional. Well, guess what? We're already there. That's the constant of proportionality then. So the constant of proportionality, again, it's the same thing that you guys did in the words. You divided the y by the x, divide this y by this x, and your constant of proportionality here is 4. Whereas up here, it was 10. And up here, it was whatever was in front of the x. So that's how you would find it from a table. Even easier, actually, than that. I gave you the hardest one. Even easier than that is if you are looking at a table and the number 1 exists. So if I have, let's say, 0, 0, and this is my x and this is my y, 1, 7, 2, 14, 3, 21, 4, 28. So if I had a table like this, you can tell that it's proportional because the 7 divided by the 1, 14 divided by 2, these all give me 7. If you are comfortable using that calculator, doing it 7 divided by 1, 14 divided by 2. Sorry, not by 2. I was doing that in my head. Or that was 14. Yeah, 14 divided by 2. 21 divided by 3. You're going to see all of these numbers are going to give you 7. And so because I took the y values and I divided them by the x values, as long as that point existed, I got 7. And guess what? An even easier way, I'm looking right at it because it's telling me for one lawn, one book, one month, it's right here. So for a table of values, you could get lucky and see the actual 1 and they're telling you it's 7. Or if 1 does not exist, then you have to do a little bit of math. Okay? So like for this problem right here, I don't see a 1 anywhere, so I'm going to have to get a little fancy and see if I divide the y by the x's, what I would get. So let's take this and say, okay, I'm going to take, sorry, there's a glare. I'm going to take the 5 and divide it by 10. Well, that's going to give me 0.5, that's a half. And I should not need a calculator for this, but you could do it just to check if you're comfortable with physically seeing it. 1.5 divided by 3 and 1 divided by 2, there's that 0.5. And so the constant of proportionality for this would be 0.5 or 1/2, whichever way, okay? All right, so we have found out how to find the constant of proportionality from an equation. Boom. From words, y divided by x. From table, y divided by x. And level 4 is going to be the graph. And there's actually going to be 2 levels, I guess. We're going to go to level 5 because one can be a little trickier than the other. So first thing I want you to take a look at is, where's my notes right here? This right here, okay? If I give you these tables, or I'm sorry, these graphs, and I say, okay, find the constant of proportionality. Well, first thing I would do if I were you, just like in a table, is look for that 1 comma blank. Because as soon as I see, and I know it's proportional, as soon as I see a 1 here, I know that number is going to be my m. So if I look for that 1 comma m and I see it, that's the number I'm putting. I'm not doing any dividing. That's it. So boom, lucky. Here's the 1. I am going to follow that 1. And I got to zoom in here a little bit because some of these lines are not very great quality. But so we're going to zoom in and I'm going to see that if I follow this up, it looks like if I follow it over here, I might have to do, sometimes they do this and they give you these graphs. You guys can figure this out. If this is 20 and this is 40, then I'm going by what? 5s, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So this little tick mark right here, even though it doesn't come right out and say it, I use some information to figure out that's 25. And because this line of this graph met at a perfect point where 2 lines crossed and I followed it over, I know for a fact that that's how much for 1. So my table would say 1 comma 25, which means for 1 hour of work, I would earn $25. And actually, I want you to just keep in mind that we're really talking more about slope than constant of proportionality. And guess what? If you know that that is the number that goes in front of your equation, as soon as you have your slope, you know that you can take your equation and put the m value there, and there's your equation. It's so easy to go to the equation once you know that m value. So let's take a look at this next one. Let's see if we are just as lucky. I see 1, I follow it up. It's luckily also meeting at a perfect point where both grid lines meet, and it works its way over to the 20. And so that means for 1 game, I earn 20 points. Because I always want to look at these because remember, it's points per game, right? And so I want to show you something also. If I were to follow and say, let's say we're 2 follows over, it would be 40. 3 right here meets, and it would be 60. Do all of these check for you? Meaning when I divide all of these y values by all of the corresponding x values, do I get 20? Is 60 divided by 320? Yes. Is 40 divided by 220? Yes. That's how you know you've gotten the right amount. And so if I know the 20, I know that my constant of proportionality is my slope, and it goes in the form y equals 20x. Okay, that was called the level 4. Okay, level 4 is when it's, nice and easy and it's visible by 1. Okay, this would be our level 5 in the video game. Like literally, if you were trying to beat that level, that this is the hardest it's going to get. And the reason that it's a little bit trickier is because I don't see a 1 there. okay? It doesn't mean we can't do it. I know that you're going to be able to figure out what to do, but it just makes it just that little bit harder. So if there was a 1 here, I could guess that it's right here. I could follow it up, and my guess is that it would be 10, but I can't really know for sure just because it doesn't give me that 1, and so I gotta kind of do a little bit of investigating. I am going to look for points on this graph that meet at a perfect intersection of 2 lines. Those are the points I'm going to choose. This is the point 2, comma 20. This point right here is 4, comma 40. And this point right here that I'm going to use is 6, comma 60. And if the constant of proportionality can be found by taking all of my y's and dividing them by all of my x's, if I earn $20 for working 2 hours, then yep, I just earned $10 in 1 hour. If I earned $40 for working 4 hours, there's 10 again, and $60 for 6 hours is 10 again. And so because I divided all of my y's by my x's and got 10, that means my slope is 10. And once I know my slope, I can write my equation. And my equation is y equals 10x for that one. Okay? And then let's just do one more example just so you kind of have the hang of it here. So I'm looking at this. If I give you a bunch of graphs and say, find the constant of proportionality, and you go, I don't see a 1. It kind of looks like it might be 40, but let me just double check. You're going to find those meeting points, find those ordered pairs, which means this person can do 80 sit-ups, because you always want to read this x and y value, 80 sit-ups in 2 minutes. Which means then they could do 160 in 4 minutes and then 240 in 6 minutes. This is assuming that they keep that same rate, that they don't get tired and slow down. So if this is 2, comma 80, and this one is 4, comma 160, then you're going to divide that y value by that x value and get that constant of proportionality. 160 divided by 4 is also 40, and so is 240 by 6. So you guys, that's how you're going to find the constant of proportionality from a graph. If it doesn't have the 1 visible, that's level 4. This is a little bonus. If it's got that, it's a little bonus. If it doesn't, you can still do it. You just have to find and then divide. And so once I have my constant of proportionality, you guys, we should be like getting really used to this. This would be that, okay? So let me zoom out here a minute, and I want you to take a look at something like this. If I say a pool is filling up with water at a rate of 25 gallons per minute. We got a pool this summer, and our hose, we had to literally have it run for like 24 hours straight just to get it full. So it was filling 25 gallons every minute. It's a lot of gallons to fill. I'm going to show you a couple different graphs, and I want you to choose which one it would match, okay? And I don't have enough room really to get all of it, but let's take a look at this. So I am looking for a line to match the equation y equals 25x. And the first thing I know about it is it's proportional, because every minute that goes by, another 25 gallons is in that pool, which means I need it to be a straight line that goes through the origin. Is A in contention? Like, could that be a possibility? Maybe. B might look like it would work. Well, C's not going to work at all, because yeah, it's straight, but it doesn't start at the origin, and D would work, okay? So now what I have to do is look a little closer at some of these and see if I can find that 1, comma M point, the one where 1 meets 25, and that would be the one that I'm doing. So down here, I'm sorry, this is not a very good way to zoom in and zoom out, but as I'm looking here, I'm looking at 1, and I know that I can't see the grid lines very good, but I know it's not even to 20. It looks like 10. So this pool is filling up 10 gallons a minute. I don't want that pool. And so I've eliminated these two. It is going to be between A and B, and they both look pretty close. So let's zoom in a little bit on A. And I'm looking at 1, and it looks like if this is 20 and this is 40, that this one's 30. It's not quite to 30 yet. and it's just a little past 20. I'm kind of thinking that one looks good, but let's get a little closer on this one. 1 all the way up to 30. That one looks like it's a little bit too far. So we're going to go ahead and say that that one is A. But here's an even better way. This point right here, I wish I would have made this darker before I copied it for you guys. This one right here kind of looks like we could use it to help us figure out something, because as you're looking on your paper, what is that point? That point is 2, 50. And how could I use the point? Because I wasn't really sure about it here. I thought it would work, but here's how I confirm. I take that y and I divide it by that x, and I get my 25, which is confirms for me that that's that. So these ones on the next side of your paper are a little bit easier to tell. A leopard can travel, here we go, 25 again, 25 miles an hour. So I want you to take a look at your paper and see if you can, right off the bat, eliminate one. Like, let's get rid of this B because it doesn't even go through the origin. It has them running a straight 72 miles an hour. This one, let's see, what are we at, 25? So I could say this one looks good. This one's way off because it looks like it's running 70. So it's not that one. And this one is exactly 20, but we need it to be 25. So it also has to be this one. So 2 should get me to 50. And it was just kind of that same example. So then what you're going to be doing today is taking a look at finding the actual constant of proportionality according to, let's go back to all the things we've done. I'm going to give you equations. I'm going to give you some problems with stories. I'm going to give you some tables, and I'm going to give you some graphs. And you have to find the constant of proportionality from all 4 of them.